So I got to admit, I'm one of those people that wakes up in the morning and then just gets dragged off out of the bed by my phone and notifications and off into my day, totally unconscious. And there's been so many things that I reflect on in my life and go, man, I just really want to, I'll get home at the end of the day and I'll look at certain instances where I responded in certain ways and go, man, I hate that about myself. And I really want to change that. And it happens again the next day. And I come home and I think, man, I hate that about myself and I really want to change that. And it happens the next day. And it's been happening for 2 years.
When do you want to change that? When you're ready to change that, you will. When it becomes boring and it becomes predictable.
I don't want to have to wait for a crisis or, because...
Well, now that you know, you can't not know.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Now that you know, you can't not know. And on some level, you may have a belief that you think this is hard.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Because I've struggled with it.
Yeah. And it's just like you learning snowboarding and never taking a lesson, right? It's going to be it's going to be tenuous. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be difficult. Put your time in, learn how to do it, and it gets easier as you do it. It's just like you just have to learn the formula. There's a formula that we've discovered that it's actually enjoyable when you do it right, and you actually like it. People want to do more of it because it feels so good. And I mean, you look at the HRV measurements with our community, look at our brain scans. These are people that they're not faking ecstasy. They're not faking it. Their brain is at such a level of arousal. And the arousal is not pain. The arousal is not fear. The arousal is not aggression or anger. The arousal is ecstasy. The brain is going in this heightened state. They're making a connection to something really big. And that feels really good. And when they realize that they've hit something really big and it's not coming from anyone or anything outside of them, they stop looking for it out there and they realize it's been within them the whole time. I think so many people want so many things in their life, but what we really want is wholeness. Because when you have wholeness, you can't want. How could you want when you're whole? You only want when you're in lack. When there's brain and heart coherence, there's a level of wholeness that takes place where a person is no longer interested in separation or lack. They feel like they have everything they want. That's a great place to be in. And we've discovered that the more relaxed you are in your heart, the more awake you are in your brain. It's relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain. And we teach that. People actually can get good at doing that.
I really want to talk to you about this brain coherence and this heart coherence. I have to close off on that morning routine thing by asking you, exactly what did you do this morning?
Ooh.
This morning?
I was up probably around 4:30. Yeah.
Why?
Because there's nobody that can bother me at that time. There's no emails, there's no texts, it's my time.
What time were you in bed?
Probably between 10 and 11.
Okay.
Is that not enough sleep for you, huh?
Well, no, that is. I think I actually measure my sleep, and I look at it every day. That's part of the reason I'm dragged out of bed. But
yeah, for me, 4 a.m, 5 a.m. is a really great time. I've just conditioned my body that way. That's the time, and I spend a little time remembering what I'm doing. What am I doing? What are you doing in this meditation? Why are you doing this meditation? What are you about to do? I like to just get myself in my think box, organizing what am I not going to think about, what am I going to stay away from, what am I not going to do in my meditation. I'm going to review that. What am I going to do? When I get that all worked out, then I get in my play box. In my play box, there's no thinking. I've got all the thinking done in my think box. In my play box, it's really about me changing my state. And so I allow for 2 hours every morning. Doesn't mean I always take it or need it, let me say that. But I allow for 2 hours. Sometimes I like to just get my mind straight, and then I do the work. And I like to get to that point where when I'm done, I feel like something changed.
Do the work?
Yeah.
What does the work look like?
It's meditation. Yeah. It's finding the present moment. It's getting into the unknown. It's getting beyond myself, disconnecting from my body, getting beyond any thought of anyone or anything, getting beyond time, moving beyond space and time. Turns out when you focus on nothing, there are so many amazing things that happen to your brain. I've seen the scans over and over again.
What have you seen in the scans?
Well, there's this thing in the brain called modularity. And when we're living by the hormones of stress, and stress is when you can't predict something, when you can't control something, or you have the perception that something's going to get worse. You switch on that fight or flight nervous system, and the rush of those chemicals causes us to become alert, to become aroused. And we narrow our focus on the material world. And so when you're not able to control everything in your life and you can't predict everything in your life, you start shifting your attention to everyone and everything, every person, every object, every place. We've all had that experience when we're under stress. And every one of those people, those objects, those things, those places has a neurological network in the brain. So like a lightning storm in the clouds, the brain begins to fire out of order, very incoherently. It becomes modulated or compartmentalized. It's a house divided against itself, and those individual compartments don't talk to the rest of the brain. And we tend to get over-focused. You never notice when you're under stress, you're obsessing about something, you're over-focusing about something, you're overthinking something, you're overanalyzing, you're driving your brain higher and higher into higher states of arousal, high beta brainwave patterns. We discovered that if you teach a person to go from a narrow focus on something physical, something material, and broaden their focus, open their awareness and put their attention on space, on nothing, and create what's called a divergent focus. The act of sensing and no longer analyzing, thinking, begins to slow the brain waves down from that beta brainwave state to a low-level beta, and then all of a sudden to alpha. If they keep doing it, sensing space tends to cause those different compartments that were modulated or divided to begin to synchronize. And what syncs in the brain actually links in the brain. So the brain starts firing in a more holistic state. In other words, every single area of the brain is resonating at the same frequency. And now the brain is functioning as one neurological network instead of individuals. And that kind of holism, that kind of order feels really good. It feels really good. And so people practice slowing their brain waves down, not only to get beyond the analytical mind, but to cause the brain to fire in a more coherent way. And if we're going to have a clear intention about what we want, the more coherent the brain, the clearer the intention. So we've seen in 7 days, even in 4 days, these dramatic changes in the levels of coherence and order that take place in the brain. The brain's firing in a more holistic state. That's when the person notices a change in their anxiety and their depression and their PTSD, whatever it is. There's more order in the brain. And the act of focusing on nothing and opening your awareness to space creates that kind of amazing change.
Did you set an intention this morning?
I did.
Can you tell me what it is?
Ooh. I want to be relaxed and awake. I want to be present with everything that I do. I want to stay in my heart the entire day. And I want to be inspired by, the idea of